We're going to talk about drag and drop. Now, before you get too excited, drag and drop gets very advanced, way more advanced than this course is really going to cover. Honestly, I didn't even want to put it in here because it does get advanced. So I'm going to do this video end to end, meaning no edits. You're going to see every mistake I make. You may hear me use some colorful language, but we'll try to explain it as best we can. So drag and drop, I'm sure you've seen it before, but how you do it in QML is you have an object and a drag area, and you can take that object, drag it, and notice how that color changed, and then there is some hit detection so you know if it's in there or not. Let's see how this works. All right, first things first, we need some properties. So we're going to say property, and this is going to be a string. We'll call this the key. And in case you're wondering what this is, it's just a special key, some string. Can even be misspelled horribly like I just did. But basically all it is some sort of string that says, hey, this is the identifier that we're going to align with that we need to use in order to allow this object to drag and drop into the area. Now let's define some colors. Don't really need to, but since we're in property land, we can just go ahead and get this. So we're going to say goal on. Let's call this green. And then we're going to do a little copy and paste action here. Goal off. We're going to say red. And then we're going to say ball on. Yellow. And ball off. This is going to be orange. Really simple properties. Now, what we need to define is our actual drop area. This is where we're going to take an object and drop it into. And we're going to call this drop zone. Set some anchors. And we're going to say top, and we're going to say parent top. And we're going to say right, and we're going to say parent right. And let's go ahead and say anchors dot bottom equals the parent bottom. Width 300. Now we're going to say drag dot keys, and IntelliSense helped us out here. Notice how there's two drags. IntelliSense keeps wanting to do that first one. We want the second one here. Two different objects. So if you don't see keys, then you screwed something up. And this is an array, and this is the key is the item we're going to shove in here, which is a special key up here. So we're basically giving an array of strings that we're going to allow. So you can have multiple objects. You can say like key 1, key A, key B, key C, whatever we want to do. Something like that. But we're just going to say the key because we only have one object we're going to play around with. And then on dropped. Console log. And let's go ahead and we're going to play around with this a little bit. I'm going to have another thing going on, but getting a little off track here. We're going to say goal dot color, which means we're going to define an object called goal. And that's going to be goal on. So we need to find this goal. And this is going to be, you guessed it, just a rectangle. Let me get some screen real estate here so we can see what we're doing. ID is going to be just simply goal. Anchors fill. We're going to fill that parent, which is in the drop zone, or I should say the parent is the drop zone. Color. And this is where We're going to say goal off. Border color, black, and let's make a thick border here. Save and run. Let's see what this looks like. All right, so now we have our drop area, and we have a rectangle filling that. So we can very visually see, and in case you're wondering, the drop area itself is non-visual. That's why I have this rectangle in here. Without the rectangle, it'd just be a blank space. So now we need to make another rectangle so we can drag and drop it in there. This is where things get a little bit interesting. So we're going to say rectangle. This is going to be our ball. And we're going to say width 100, height 100, radius, and this is just going to be same as the width because we want a circle. X 25, and then let's go ahead and center this in the parent. Easier ways of doing this, I'm just showing you we can put some JavaScript in here. And let's go ahead and put the color in here. And we want this to be ball off. And let's go ahead and set our border on this thing. And I'm going to put a thick width on that one too, just in case. Let's go ahead and put our text in here. Let's call this title. And let's go ahead and center this in the parent. And let's go ahead and change this. And we're going to say the parent X. And the parent Y. If we don't do the round, we're going to have some large number like we've seen before. There we go. Now that we have that in there, let's go ahead and test this, save and run. There's our ball. We need to be able to move this and drag and drop it. So let's add our mouse area on here. And we're going to say mouse area. We're going to fill the parent. And now we need to set a drag target. The concept of a target is probably familiar because we've talked about animations, and it is almost identical. The target is just the object you want to play around with, though in this case, the parent, which is, ta-da, the rectangle called ball. That's our drag target. Now let's add some notification on here, on pressed, and we're going to say parent.color, and I want to say ball on, and the goal color, I'm going to say goal off. I'm going to copy that whole thing, and now I want on released. Just getting a little bit of user interaction here. And then what I want to do now is we're going to say parent drag drop. So what we're calling here is we're saying when we release this, we're going to call the parent drag drop. And that's a little confusing, but what's going here is we're saying take the drag object, call the drop function. The drop function is going to do some internal math, and it's going to say, hey, drop area, is this actually aligning with the key, and is everything working the way we want it to be? All right, so how do we line that key up? Notice how we don't have any key listed here. So if we save and run this now, we can actually drag this around, but nothing happens if we drop it. So let's figure that part out. Let's go up here, and we're going to say drag.active, and here we're going to say drag area. This is our little mouse area down here. We're going to say .drag.active. So really we're doing a property binding. We're saying our drag object of the ball is actually the mouse area's drag and determining whether or not it's actually active. So basically we're saying, hey, mouse area, talk to the rectangle, figure out what the heck's going on. Now we need to set that key. Without the key, none of this happens. We're going to say drag keys, and of course we want the same keys. Or I should say, at least one of those keys. So for example, if you had a bunch of keys up here, you would at least need one of them here. Otherwise, this filter isn't going to fire off, and it's going to say, nope, you're not in my list of keys, go away. All right, save and run. Take our ball. Ta-da, it works. So what's really going on under the hood here is we have our drop area. And when we take this and we start clicking and we hold that mouse down and move it, what's happening under the hood is the drag target is this guy. So we know we can drag that around the screen. When we release, we're saying parent, this ball, drag, drop. And when drop is called, it looks at this and says, hey, I'm going to send out a global signal saying, hey, I've dropped this object and it has this key, and some math happens in the background, and if it's over our drop zone and the key matches, then voila, we know that a drag drop happened. And we get some notification. Watch this little area down here. Pretty cool.